It's very special to be here with you this evening, and it's for me, it's the keys. Whenever I think of the keys, I think of Mezzanine, I think of those days coming from the old Eastern School through the bush path, I think of all the houses on the hill, I think of, Uncle Ver and how we used to sit down by, you know, Granny Georgiana. We used to do all of those things just sitting there, and I can't be in this district, this community, so close to, those images without, recognizing our ancestors and being grateful for them. It's a very emotional time, a lot of the time, but sitting here and seeing all the change, there's been so much change since, they passed on, several generations ago now, almost. A lot of change. In fact, we never used to call the keys then, believe it or not. It was just, I used to go by the spring and go through the spring path, and you were right there. It's very special indeed to be here, and I want to thank you for listening. I know that, many of you are listening. I also say feel free to come and join us. We're here, we're not apart. We are one, and you are welcome, and we especially welcome those who feel that, this campaign, there may be differences in our views, differences in our political views. Personally, I believe in differences and opening and openly addressing differences. There's nothing with differences, and often when people have a conversation and they realize that there's more that they have in common, than they have that is different. And so feel free. It's, open to everyone. And the main purpose of this meeting this evening is really to facilitate each and every one of you coming forward, and if you have views, if you have thoughts, literally to share them. I hope that when I outlined a few of the campaign issues, that you will feel sufficiently engaged or concerned about what the future represents to, to pay attention and to be a part of it. So, Mary, I want to thank you for sharing. Karen, thank you for that lovely prayer. And each and every one of you in this little round gathering, thank you for being here. I appreciate your support. This is the winning campaign. We know that. This is the winning campaign. And we want everybody to be included. We want everybody to be part of this, because this is a District 1 thing. This is an Anguilla thing. This is a Keys thing. It's a Garland Bottom thing. It's an Island Harbor thing. It's a Spring thing. It's, it's all about all of us here. And I really would want everybody to be a part of it. Now this evening, excuse me, I want to say, again, I want to invite questions. The key thing about being here with you is feel free to ask questions. Through conversation, we can address, really the most important facets of what has been offered. This campaign, you see the title, New Anguilla Now. And you might say, well, what does New Anguilla Now mean? And I want to say that when we chose that campaign theme, we were concerned to make sure that we linked the dreams of our revolutionaries, of those persons who sacrificed so much, particularly those who sacrificed their liberty and ran the risk of being charged, and in fact some were charged with very serious offenses and with, their liberty, challenging their liberty. Those persons we want to recognize. And it was their dream, as I understood it. They were the revolutionaries, the heroes and heroines who went out there and sang that song, "We're out to build a new Anguilla." Stand up for Jesus also, but we're out to build a new Anguilla. And you might say, well, some of us are very, very young. And you might say, well, what did they mean by that? We're out to build a new Anguilla. Perhaps they meant, freedom from St. Kitts, just to be free from St. Kitts. But I believe, and I've looked at the history and I've consulted with people, I've talked to many of the persons themselves who participated in that initiative. And I've come away, including the father of the nation, saying, well, it wasn't just about coming away from St. Kitts. It might have started with that immediate goal, but that immediate objective. But the main objective was to provide opportunity and prosperity for each and every one of us. Opportunity and prosperity for each and every one of us. And if you think that 47 years after that revolution, many of us, we've experienced change. We've, certainly change is constant. We've experienced change since then. And certainly since 1981, we are no longer a part of St. Kitts. Legally, we've achieved that objective. But have we really achieved the new Anguilla that our heroes and heroines set out to achieve? And I think resoundingly, each and every person who aspired then, or each and every Anguillian who bought into that dream, and we know that it was upwards of 98% of Anguillians who opted, who aspired, who connected with that vision of an Anguilla where there would be equal opportunity and prosperity, everybody doing well. And we think about what prosperity would look like in a place where there is prosperity. And you don't have to look too far. And our Chief Minister Hughes, Honorable Chief Minister Hughes, just 2 days ago at a financial services conference where he attended, he said, well, look at BVI. There is prosperity there. He is saying that was linked to the financial services. There's prosperity there. So he's pointing to a place where there's prosperity, where perhaps we could aspire to that kind of prosperity. When I think of prosperity, I think about prosperity like in Bermuda, where all the Bermuda people they're recognized. Bermuda has the highest per capita income in the world. It's a little island just like us. It's just like us. They're British. They have the highest per capita income in the world. That looks prosperous. That is what prosperity looks like. When everybody has wealth, the unemployment is non-existent, and people are leading productive lives. Our institutions are funded. We get really good health care. Our schools are not hot. They're air conditioned, and we have, water. We have all the toilet paper we need. It's a completely different. That is what prosperity looks like. Anguilla, we don't have those things. The Vivian Vanderpool Primary School in 1971, I started there. I used to go to I went my first year bit of school to the Eastern School, but I started that very first year in the Vivian Vanderpool Primary School. And it's not very much different. It's not much different from 1971 when I was there. In fact, it's a lot different in some ways because it's more dilapidated. I was there when it was new and crisp and everybody was looking at, this really great building. But now it's dilapidated, and our children deserve better. Our children need to be like the other children who will be in a prosperous environment. They deserve going to school where they can focus on their lessons, where they don't have to worry about gangs or whose side they're on or what is going on, where they can just focus on their lessons. We need an environment where our children can literally focus on science and technology, because it's these disciplines that will assure our children having a place in the future, having a place in a global future. That is what we need. And we are not prosperous. So New Anguilla now, forget the dreaming. We need it now. And how can we achieve opportunity and prosperity now? We need first to get effective representation in this district. It has to start with effective representation in this district. It has to start with an effective leadership where our people, where each and every one of us together put together the plan that will determine how we move in the direction of providing equal opportunity and prosperity. It requires us sitting together and sculpting it. It doesn't involve somebody telling you, oh, this is what we're going to have. This is what we're going to need. That's not how it is. For us to succeed in this New Anguilla, we have got to be together. We've got to be united. So that is the theme of this campaign. It's the New Anguilla now. And you might ask, well, how are we going to get from where we are now to there? How are we going to sculpt those steps? And somebody, thanks very much, Karen, many people might try to persuade you that, one great project is going to do it. But that is not sustainable. I'm sorry to say. One project, and we don't just need one project, we need many projects. But we need something more than that. We need a vision that links that project to the kind of Anguilla of the future that's going to assure each and every child the opportunity that we're talking about. And we've had Temenos. You remember that was in the region the most talked about project. You remember that? Yes, yes. It was regarded with great envy by a lot of jurisdictions. Anguilla, you got that. But you see, and we had all kinds of people from all over the world coming here to work and participating in that project. But that didn't stop us. Good evening, everybody. Thank you. Please come in and sit down and make yourself happy and comfortable. But that project, as big as and momentous as it was, and as much as we had people come from many far-off countries to provide employment, that didn't stop us. That didn't provide a stop to the scourge of crime in this island and what has happened as a result. And that is because I believe, not sufficient thought was given to sustainability, not sufficient thought was given to how we could have rolled out a project that would allow for us marrying the vision with the actual things that we undertook and did. Now, I've got some canvassing cards here, and it tells you, many of you know it already. It says why you should vote for Pam Webster. Pam Webster is an independent candidate. An independent candidate. And a lot of people have a lot to say about an independent candidate, including that last time I ran as a a member of the APP, the Anguilla Progressive Party, which, if you remember, was a young and fresh party. So I'm not an independent candidate by choice, you would say. Really, I'm not. I'm an independent candidate. I'm an independent candidate. The one person who succeeded on the APP slate was Jerome Roberts, the Honorable Jerome Roberts. And you know that he joined up with the AUM, contrary to all the principles, all the agreement we had. He walked. That I'm very disappointed. I love Jerome, but I'm very, very disappointed that our politicians cannot be trusted. Our politicians cannot be trusted. And I am different. You will see on my platform, on the bulletin board, it says, your independent candidate, your candidate. I'm your candidate. I am with the people. So when they talk about who you're going to go with, say to them, who she's going to go with? She's with us. We are democracy. We are the people. If you know who is going to be elected everywhere else, then we don't need an election. You may as well tell everybody else. Otherwise, don't ask nonsensical questions that won't get us anywhere. What I can tell you is that whatever the outcome of the elections, when you elect me in District 1, and I know you're going to elect me in District 1, thank God for that. It's God's plan. I am here, and I'm with the people, and you're going to elect me. And I can tell you that when you elect me, you will have the kind of representation this district deserves. This district deserves a different kind of representation. We are going to take responsibility, each and every one of us, and choose an effective representative. We need it. And furthermore, your representative is your voice. Your representative is going to do exactly what you want me to do. I have no ego. I have no other stake in this than to be your representative. And we are not going to have a district we are not going to have a silent representative. We're not going to have a representative that's going to walk out. And let me tell you, whether or not, whatever the outcome is in the different other slots, I can tell you, when I'm elected, District 1 will be transformed. We are going to transform District 1 together. Irrespective of who the others are, this is what we are going to do. That is what effective representation will deliver. And I commit to you this evening. I commit to you, you know me. You know me. You know that the reason that I am pursuing this is not for my own gratification. I am pursuing this for the children, for you. And they might laugh and say, where she was with the children. The children know. We know. And you've known me, and I'm always the same. And I will never change towards you. I demonstrate the community values today that you taught me, that I lived. I have never moved away from that. And the community excellence that I'm pursuing is the community excellence that we have pursued until we got to a place where we didn't have the kind of representation we deserve. We need better representation in the future to model who we are and what we are about, each and every one of us. And I know you're going to ask some questions, but the one thing before I pass the mic to each of you, I want to say thank you so very much. Each and every one of you. The children, Doobie, you're a star. You know, each and every one of you, I could go around and call names. Ralston, what you're doing on the beach, let me tell you, that is another indication of community excellence. You know what it is? It says that my surroundings reflect who I am. Who I am. And do you see the people, how they love to come to Island Harbor now? That is only the beginning of it. When we start to model and share those values and who we are, they're absolutely right. This is going to be the pulse of Anguilla's transformation. It's happening, people are aware of it, and they know it. You see, when we started with the community center in 2009, nobody was talking about community centers. Now everybody is talking about it. We were ahead. We were ahead. We started it. You know something? When we put that District 1 development plan together, and when the experts, when this government had to to have input for the sustainable master plan, what do you think they used? They used our District 1 development plan. How powerful is that? And you know something? You can say, wow, they got it. You know, they put it in. But you know, because you say something or do something doesn't, or pretend to do something, doesn't mean you really know how to do it. We are going to roll out that plan in ways they can't imagine to transform this district. The future is ahead of us, and it was God's plan. That's why they took it, because they didn't know any better. Every idea we have, and it's on record, the District 1 development plan, it's been on the internet from 2010, from the 2010 election. Each and every little idea that you're hearing now in relation to District 1 from the other persons, it's all in the District 1 development plan. And you know what? I don't mind at all. I'm glad, because they are confirming that we've got it right. They're confirming we've got it right. We've got it right. And the secret, the ability to implement is right here. We are going to do the transformation. We are going to do that. The final thing I will say is that one thing in District 1, we know we're smart people. We're smart, smart, smart. Everybody knows that. They say, "Guy, you guys in District 1, you're really smart." We are smart. And nobody's going to fool us this time. We're going to think, we're going to study, we're going to consider, and nobody is going to fool us. It's not the days, God forbid, just after the election in the 70s, where somebody could say in an election, we're going to do this major project, this huge project, and then nothing happens. We're not going there anymore. Let's think about it. Where is the money going to come from? If we don't even have the money this minute to do the basic things we need to do in the hospital, where we're going to get money to roll out this incredible thing? And why would we want to empower people from across the world to do the things that we need to do to secure our future? Are you with me? Why would we do that? We don't need to do that. We are smart, and let me tell you, and I don't know if you talk to the consultants with the Sustainable Tourism Master Plan, they will tell you the low-hanging fruit is there. The low-hanging fruit is there. We can absolutely transform, but we've got to do it strategically. You cannot move forward with a program to ensure that we have tranquility in blue and wrapped in blue, and at the same time have huge jet skis working in a certain way. We've got to do that in a way that is embodied or empowered by the plan. Otherwise, we're going down disaster route. We've got to be so strategic. We absolutely have to be. And in terms of education, we need to educate our people. We need to educate our people, and it's a continuing thing. It doesn't mean that older people can't, we're talking just about children when I say we have to educate our people. We've got to, absolutely. And what is education? It's to do with life experiences. We've got to secure opportunity for each and every Anguillian in terms of education. We need accreditation in terms of the vocational areas, the technical areas, electricity. And I want to tell you that when we talk about alternative energy, we're looking at a transformative paradigm, again, where electricity is going to not look at the blessing of the sun we've got every single day. Look at that solar in certain places in the world, like in Switzerland. They wish they had our sun. What would they be doing with it? Let's harness that to deliver wealth to each and every one of us. Let's harness it so that in our rooms in the school they are air conditioned and our children can focus, not looking at not being able to afford electricity in some way. There are just so many God-given opportunities that are very low-hanging that we can do, rather than these pie-in-the-sky ideas that will never see reality. So I'm going to pass the mic back to Mary, and if there are questions, I'm happy to field them, any questions at all. And I want to acknowledge Uncle Kenneth, Naaman, Toddville, thank you so much for coming. This is when the keys, we're all together in this. There are no little boundaries and demarcations. We're in this together, and welcome to the winning campaign. We are winning. District 1 is being transformed, and we're delivering the new Anguilla now. God bless you.
You know, it was in District 1 that the new Anguilla started in 1967. But they have tried to keep us down. As I said before, I can still hear my minister, Mr. Harrigan, saying, give me some money so I can do things for my people. And his own government kept him down. But now we want someone who will represent us, someone who, and it's just not District 1, I must say, it's the whole of Anguilla. They're asking for however you go, we want Pam, because they know she can deliver. She doesn't talk much about herself and her achievements, but I suppose sometimes she will tell you that the financial services industry, of which she has played a major part, carries quite is it about 20% of the, yes, of the budget, of our income. And the other things she has done, she spoke about the young people, the children. She recognizes that they are our future. A little 3-year-old said to me someday, I was talking to her, and she said, her daddy's tablet. So I said, you want your daddy's tablet? She said, no, I have my own tablet. Now, I don't even know how to operate a telephone that I have. So more of a tablet. And this is a 3-year-old. They think differently to us. They know how to do these things. But that doesn't mean that we, the older ones, don't have to learn too, you know. Because education is knowledge, and we have to become knowledgeable as well. And Pam, through that center, I don't know, many of you may know, but I can attest to having benefited as an adult from programs that were held at the center for adults as well. So it's just not children that she has been trying to empower, and the young people, but us older ones as well. So next time you're here, we have a program, you can come out. And she recognizes that a wealthy nation is a healthy nation. Yes. And health is important to her too. And it's not just the traditional health. You know that years ago, we didn't have all the diseases you're hearing about now. And our people, you didn't have so many tablets, taking all these tablets. What did you do? Right. It's an alternative medicines. And so we have to bring back some of the different things to educate our people about. You'd be surprised to know in Anguilla how many good medicinal plants we have growing here. A lot of them. But my thing is this, I can't, coming from health, I have to tell you that you have to know how to take them as well. So, and Pam, I won't say too much tonight, but I'm going to leave it for the audience to ask you the questions. And I think Karen was saying to me she has a question. And I'll talk some more as we go along.
Pam, this question is for you, and I know how you feel about what I'm asking you about. But I'm going to ask you in a way because I think that most people here should be concerned about a statement like this. One, I listened to the meeting last night that was aired on 103.3, and one of the candidate who was hosting that meeting made a statement to, I guess, an Anguillian in the UK, asking him, saying to him, I would like to come back home. What can you do, or what is your plans for people like me coming back home? One of his answers were that there is a lot of houses here in Anguilla on foreclosure that it has a reasonable price, and now will be a good time for persons living abroad to come home to purchase those homes. For me, that was so insensitive, and it almost made me cry because I know how much our people are very ambitious, and a lot of our people went out there and got homes, worked very hard, but because of the economy, they are very much unable to pay for their loans. Now, I know, I'm not answering the question, but I know that you will do your best to make sure that persons can get jobs and things are happening that they can pay for their homes and not lose their homes. Now, just for the audience, I would like for you to tell me how you feel about a statement like that and what would be your plans towards ensuring that stuff like that doesn't happen.
Thanks, Karen, for that question. Thank you. And I'm going to answer it in an indirect way. I'm going to tell you that one of the things that you need in your representative is you need somebody who is compassionate. We need a caring, compassionate leadership to be able to move together anywhere. And if your representative, God bless him, you see Uncle Kenneth there, everybody will say that he represented what caring and loving, what the kind of leadership, that kind of leadership. He would never leave his people behind. That is the kind of leader. Look for the compassion and look to the Bible as well. The Bible says you look to it. Compassion and integrity are probably the two super values that will assure us the kind of leadership that we need. The Bible will guide us in that way as well. Now, what about the homes? If somebody who is supposedly just like you can speak like that, then that person doesn't demonstrate compassion. Because a compassionate leader will do absolutely everything in his power, in her power, to assure that your needs for shelter, your aspirations, and putting those blocks together, that is what a compassionate leader does. And absolutely, they're not going to invite strangers or people who are certainly better off to sweep you out of your opportunity. What they're going to do, what an effective representative is going to do, is to negotiate to assure that you have an opportunity to catch yourself and to get in a position where you can remedy that gap in your financial position. And it's not, we got to do that. That is what a compassionate leader will do. There's no other way. They've got to try absolutely everything to negotiate that reality for you. We've got to create opportunities. That's what we've got to do. We've got to go out and find one of the ideas. It's amazing. We talked about the financial services industry, and this week, the financial services, we had a captive insurance summit. We had the Financial Services Day, Industry Day, which the Financial Services Commission and the government organized. And I was present when I heard the chief minister say that financial services is the second plank on which Anguilla can move forward. And he looked to somebody else. He saw me, of course. I was there. I'm in the financial services industry. I'm one of the people who's been there from the beginning. But he looked past me and he said, in his way, and he said, we need all our people working together to make the financial services make a difference. Well, I want to tell you that in May of 2010, together with a private sector delegation, we went to Chief Minister Hughes, and one of the ideas that we threw out to him was a way of getting people to lease the houses that had already been alienated, the houses, the villas alienated, and also the Anguilla houses that were the foreclosure was being threatened. And in 2010, if Mr. Hughes had engaged with that, a lot of the banking problems that we have experienced, we wouldn't have experienced. We would have been able to avert it. But that's in the past. I can tell you that I know the financial services industry very well, and just like what the governor is saying and everybody else is saying, if we have a well-regulated industry, we can get significant revenues. We may not have the same opportunity that we did 15 years ago with Acorn. The global picture has changed significantly, but there is so much opportunity with family offices. There's so much opportunity to get real significant revenues in Anguilla that will stay, and our young people, our sixth formers or fifth formers, those are the jobs that are going to be significant in the future. We are going to have paperless offices, and our IT people will be able to make a difference in that regard. We can create jobs in the new economy working with financial services. And that is an area that I really know well. It's not even on my canvassing thing, because my passion is education, and my passion is the economic opportunities that will allow for the low-hanging fruit to be transformed right away. Financial services, we can do that, no trouble at all. Science and technology, we're going to wield that in a way that all our young people immediately can get to jobs. Did you hear? Suddenly we're hearing about the call center, and that idea about the call center where one of the candidates saying that, but that was an idea as well that I put forward years now. I represented Brown Hill. I was I understand that area and what the opportunity was. I represented Bell Canada. I still have significant influence in that area. We can make a difference, and I want it to be in District 1. Our children are going to work. I promise you, and I'm going to make sure that the training that's needed is absolutely going to be made available to our children. It's absolutely essential. This is the new world. All right? New Anguilla now.
Thank you, Pam. Compassion is very important. And we have to understand and help one another, because we all need to come together and lend a hand to our brother. If you see a brother standing by the road, give him a hand. Pam, when she was speaking earlier, spoke about the tourism master plan. and the input from her into that plan. Well, it so happened that I'm a part of the committee which deals with the eastern section, because they split the country into three parts, and from the fountain in Sholby all around, come around, is the tourism number one, right? And I want to tell you, it's only since I've been associated with Pam and going around canvassing that I really recognize how beautiful our area is. The, the natural environment is really, really beautiful. When you look and you see all the hills, the rolling hills, and you look, it's peaceful. And one of the things we have up here are so many Arawak sites. Many of you may not know them, but they're there, our ancestors. And sometimes you walk, you probably can feel them. You know, they tell us this story of some of the hotels in the West, and they have this thing, some of them say when they go in there, they're afraid because there's spirits and things in there, because they're interfering with the ancestors. But up here we have so many sites. And you see that big spring there? That's very important. Very, very important. We don't know how important it is, but it is very, very important. And it must be something that we can highlight. She spoke to Otto about the beach. One of the ideas was to have a boardwalk there. And I strongly believe that why they are not pursuing that is because of Pam's input into the plan. And they think maybe that would, be reflective of all her ideas and things like that. But it is her idea. They can't get away from it. But I am glad to see that the people are not waiting for them to put the boardwalk there. I drove down here last Sunday, and it was good to see the umbrellas on the beach and the people gathering and enjoying it. You know why they're enjoying it? It's beautiful. It's clean. You want to see its beauty? When you start from the hill, look at it from up there. I stood by on the rocks one evening and looked down. And it was so peaceful and calm. And thanks, Mr. Harrigan, for all the coconut trees that you planted there. I can remember as a child, when I see a picture of Island Harbor, that was Island Harbor years ago, and I looked at it a few years ago, it was like a totally different place. I suppose the hurricane did all the damage, but now it's beginning to look like the old Island Harbor of old. And so you have to be proud of your district, just as I am proud of my end of the District 1, because I always tell Pam, when I was young, East End was from Boy Heno Hill right around. There was no, Island Harbor was a village of East End. The Cops was a village of East End, right? The White Hill was a village of East End. There was no separation between us. We were all one, and we are still all one. So when I talk about East End, if I put it into the electorate thing, it is District 1 and 2. But we have to be proud of our District 1. Everything started here to put us on the right track, and we have to continue doing that. Any more questions?
I couldn't miss this opportunity to make one comment. And Mary thinks that the boardwalk was my idea. It was actually Uncle Kenneth's idea. To give him a round of applause. He had that vision long time ago. And we must give credit where credit is due. This is it. And I get a lot of credit as well for the basketball and the little initiative that we did there, and we got that, but that is Uncle Kenneth too. The idea of the stadium and the idea of what sports can do, let us transform it based on his plan. Let us make it happen. And I'm going to be, yes, the person implemented it, but it's his vision and our vision together, and we're going to make it happen. What do you say? Say by giving a round of applause to Uncle Kenneth how much you appreciate him and value him, and let him know that this evening.
Yes, any more questions from the floor? You're free to come up and, sorry, we didn't get the cordless mic working, so you can come up here. Everybody knows everybody here if you want to ask a question or make a comment.
An alternative way, if you don't feel comfortable, is just to ask the question and then maybe Mary can repeat the question so others can hear it, and that, in case that makes it more comfortable.
Speaking about Mr. Harrigan, a wonderful man. It's not just because since he been in government. Kenneth, Mr. Harrigan had always been a community person. A person who you could always depend on. He started out from a very, look where Pam Webster is today. Imagine, Kenneth, he starts sailing. He start, in St. Kitts doing what he had to do to survive. And Kenneth had always been a person you could put your hands out to. And he deserved even more now what he receiving from government. Because what Kenneth is right now receiving from government is what he has already given out to people of the community. So it's nothing new to Kenneth. Nothing. When people just come into government and they can evaluate things, they can say this, say that. They don't even know if there's another term for them. But they can be just that kind of person. Speaking about people, the pension, the this, the that, and the other, all kind of things. What that is to do with these young folks, or even the folks that knows nothing about Mr. Harrigan. Mr. Harrigan had always been a community person. One night I was home and I was speaking about, it's good to commune with yourself. It's one of the best communications you can ever have. And I've been speaking about Mr. Harrigan. I said to Mr. Harrigan, from the time I know him, he had always been somebody who you can depend on. You see now, the question is asked a while ago about a community helping people hand. That is a very important thing that we have to do. When you see young people struggling, they don't have this, they don't have that. Let us go in and give them a helping hand. We can do it. Why should I be walking about in Anguilla and I see somebody struggling and I could give them some help? It's better to help them than to stand by and say, look at them. They can't do this. They can't buy a pallet of box, a pallet of cement. They can't do this. They can't. There's too much criticism. We need to go back to this jollification thing and help people. We have the skills. I can help a lot of young people. We have the skills. Why can't we do it? We need to do it. And I can say this. Mr. Harrigan was a man always in the community, helping people. Helping. Mr. Kenneth's salary wasn't his. It had always been helping somebody. When I say his salary was not his, it wasn't in his pocket. Everybody could, stop Mr. Harrigan. If 10 today, it could be tomorrow. He had a habit of saying in the morning, and we used to say, well, in the morning it could be. But he never said no. He never said he can't do it. And this is where our people who are achieving from government should realize what they can do with the salaries. Or, we don't need it back from them, but at least when they come on voting time, you realize that everybody wanted to be back in government. You know that. Why not? But that's not all to it. You have to work with the community. You have to work with the community. You have to let the community feel proud about you. We miss Kenneth out of House of a Parliament. We miss him. We miss him as an Island Harbour representative in the Eastern on the whole. We miss that man. We miss Mr. Fleming. We miss them. But the time has come. And I gotta say this. Mr. Harrigan has a lot of influence for District Number 1. You know why? It's the respect of people. Yeah. So I want us all to say about in this community business, let us try to help one another. And I can say in Jesus' name, we can go through by helping people. May God bless you, Mr. Harrigan. May God bless you, Pam, as we go along with this campaign.
Thank you very much for that, Wilkin. We must give respect and tribute where it is due. And Wilkin, and next to him is Toddville, and I can't see very much up in there, who all up in there. But there are two of the gentlemen who they left here the 9th of June 1967 and did not return until sometime February 1968. And it was because of their being on that boat that day, going to St. Kitts, made Bradshaw look into his own backyard why our revolution we were able to succeed. So we have all to do that. Mr. Harrigan, I must tell you that every time there's a House of Assembly, I would listen. And I used to tell people there are two people I like to listen to in that House of Assembly. Kenneth Harrigan and Belton Hughes. Because they spoke from the heart. They had people at heart. They spoke from their heart. We may have said, well, they can this, they can that. But what came out of them came straight from the heart. And that is something. And you know, it's strange. And if we talk about the revolution, you know that we used to say the East and the West. The in-between, there weren't too many of those there. But it was the East and the West. And it's from them they could understand what people went through. And so that is why. Thank you very much, Mr. Harrigan, for what you have done for Anguilla. And I'm not going to just say District 1, but for Anguilla. Today we can drive on some very beautiful roads. Today we can, the water which they've messed up, I mean, he was the Minister of Infrastructure. The electricity. There's so many things. I know when I wanted my electricity to my house, and they charged me so much money, I couldn't afford it. At my mother's home, I should say. I went to him and he said, okay, if you get a hold up, we'll put the current in for you. And it was more, I think if it was $1,000, I only had to pay $400. You see, that was someone who was willing to help people. He didn't say, well, you can't get it, don't do that. He found a solution. He didn't say, if your house is up for foreclosure, you can come and, you come in and get that. He found a solution. He will tell you, how, as Pam said, how to save the house. And that's why we said we all have to work together to help one another. Are there any more questions or any more comments from the floor? If they're not anymore, we can continue. Pam, you would like to continue, or you want me to say some things on your behalf?
I'll let you speak in a minute. I just want to actually emphasize something Mary has already said, that Uncle Kenneth, the Minister of Infrastructure, that he would find a solution. Effective representatives will always deliver solutions. If they're not delivering solutions, they're not effective leaders. All right? So I am aspiring in his footsteps to deliver effective representation and a solutions-focused approach to leadership, just like he has emulated.
And yes, I know when Pam gets in there, and I hope it could be sooner than February, but Lord, not far beyond February. We have this thing going on now of waste to energy. Yes, we have to find a way to get rid of the garbage. But what they're proposing, and they don't understand. I said to somebody, they don't have the capacity to understand all those technical terms. And to me, they cost the technical people, the experts in their department who should be helping them so much, right? They don't have any respect for them. Because if they were to listen to them, we want that waste to energy plant with a pyrolysis, which I listened to Romel Hughes, who is an expert in that area. And what he said, I could easily follow him and relate to what he was saying. And it is very dangerous what it is they are proposing. They don't even understand it. And someone referred to the meeting in St. Thomas. And when the question was asked if you would be importing garbage, they said no, in the agreement we don't do that. But there was something Romel read in that report where that suggested that if they don't have sufficient, they have to bring it in. And not them, the government will have to bring it in. So you see, one of the dangers of this thing is if these people commit to it before a new government gets into place, those people, they don't care about us. If they think they're going to lose business, they're going to sue us for millions, which we don't have. But I must say, thank God that the people are very concerned. I listened to a young lady speaking one afternoon, and she was so passionate about it. I think Pam and I passed late one evening when there was a meeting, and you could feel the tension. We didn't go inside because the doors were closed one end and just a little gap there, and we were going off to somewhere else. The tension that was coming from within that meeting, because the person who wants to set up the business was not explaining to the people and answering their questions. As a matter of fact, they weren't even taking many questions. Even the permanent secretary was very irate. So that is telling us that there's something. You don't rush into something if you do not understand it, because you're going to put your country into problems. Later on, you may be resolving one problem, but you're creating many, 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 many others. Any questions?
I just want to move on a little bit and just remind, I know this in the keys, and people within the sound of my voice will absolutely be interested to hear that one of the key issues, one of the key opportunities I've identified for the transformation of District 1 and has to do with fishing. I believe that, and this has been documented, as I said, since 2010. I've updated my plans in fishing significantly, but the key platform that the key change that I think will help us to create wealth has to do with that elimination of the fuel surcharge. From every $100, you will have a savings of $70 before you even start. And I think that's going to be significant. We also need access to capital for engines, for equipment, and certainly we need to go out. There's an opportunity out there to do more, but I don't believe that we should be given these opportunities through licenses or otherwise to foreigners or to huge conglomerates, because I think that it's only a matter of time that we and our children will be ready for those opportunities, and I don't want them to be deprived of them. We can build it from the bottom up. We can create wealth now. We can find absolute incentives for our young people to engage in it. And once they're creating wealth, they're going to do it. That is the nature of who we are. So I think that we build it out for our own people, and we start with the elimination of the surcharge initially and providing access to capital. I've been liaising with one of the Trinidadian banks in relation to their policies in relation to fishing, and I know that we can do extremely well because a lot of the policies that are being followed that impact farming as well, agriculture, and we are seeing in the region a lot of energy devoted to, subsistence farming and, looking at that as a low-hanging fruit and then building markets on it. That's absolutely it. We've been looking at it, and Soli, you're there for a long time now. But this is the opportunity in both fishing and farming. I've spent a lot of time looking at the avenues that we can get that access to capital, and I'm confident that when I'm elected, we can do that. I'm absolutely also confident that regionally they're going to be looking at us because of our small size and the opportunity for growth and how we can accentuate that growth or provide for that growth very quickly. I think that we can take a real leadership position. One of the key things in fishing is making our markets ready, and where we've already had, some of our guys right now go out and with their little coolers go to St. Martin. We are looking at ways that we can maximize that back to St. Bart's, back to St. Thomas, back in the ways that we did in the past when there wasn't as much regulation. But we are looking at the regulations and looking at the ways that we can cooperate to make that happen. So we'll be creating markets. And yes, it might mean that in certain instances, some of the fish, we're going to, and you will see that on the canvassing card, I've made note of an ice making plant, and one of the things that we want to do is create a cottage industry type scenario where our women can smoke fish. It's already happening in some of the high-end restaurants here, including Hibernian Island Harbor, and we think that there's a very excellent market in St. Bart's and some of the French islands for the smoked fish that we deliver in a certain way. I know that there are wonderful opportunities, and fishing and farming is going to be where there's going to be a lot of wealth, rather like in the 70s when we had open markets.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things I like about Pam, she isn't talking about people coming in. She's talking about you, developing you, so that you can survive, so that you can make a living. And fish, my mother used to tell me that when she was little, they had to walk from East End to Island Harbor to get fish in the morning and sometimes in the evening as well. You fed the people. So it's just know that you're going to. And you all remember when the plane used to come in and collect whatever the fishes or whatever it is they had to and take to the various islands? You fed the people. And you can do it again. But we just want you need the help, the marketing. When she spoke about the agriculture and the farmers and things they do, I know about that because I was in places where we would talk about the marketing. There was this gap. Yes, they have it. And there's so many things they can do with what they produce. When I drive around and I see the tomatoes on the ground, you know how many products we can get from that? We need to train our people, our farmers, to help them. And we also need to provide marketing skills and someone with that skill so that they can tell them what to do with their produce. I know Pam is very, very into that sort of thing. And she isn't just into that. Her skills, she doesn't tell you about herself, She doesn't like to tell you that she belongs to a global firm where she goes all over the world. Sometimes you don't see her and you think she gone somewhere. There's a meeting somewhere. She was a director, of this firm, this global. Last year she went to where's Ireland or something, where there were 4,000 lawyers there, and there were so many things. They're not just going there for meetings as only, no, I believe they go there. So they themselves are continually learning and gaining knowledge. So, Pamavan, give it over to you again to talk about something else. Tell me about your plans about boating, because I know in District 1, especially in this area in Island Harbor, boating is very, very important.
Yes, and again, this was something that we canvassed, and in 2010, there's in Island Harbor, there's absolutely the opportunity. In fact, look at our Captain Naaman standing next to Uncle Kenneth. But we know that. In fact, I was just reminded by someone that, and I'd forgotten about that so many years ago. But Captain Naaman, these are the boating experts, dealing with the engines, dealing with the machines, dealing with, and we have the opportunity to create a little boating, a boatyard, a slip. We can get our young people in an organized way to do that. There is a market for it. We have the skills. We can build on it. A lot of the young people are very interested in it with the training. Talking to the college, we can get even more training. But this is something we've done. We're recognized as being good at it. Right here in Island Harbor, I think we need to build that out. And we talk about boating in different ways. I have very much and have spoken about it. It's one of the incubator projects that I've been trying to encourage for during for Island Harbor, that our young people would be young. When I talk of young people, I'm talking of not just our youth that's unemployed, although there's work for them too, but particularly our young people who are passionate about building boats. We can absolutely do that incubator project where our young people are building the boats, and we are creating the markets to sell those boats, and it's absolutely supporting them, maybe with further education, with whatever, or just helping their families on a day-to-day basis with this opportunity. Anything to build out what we are and where the skills are already there, and we just have to duplicate it through training. And these are the kinds of thoughts, again, very low-hanging fruit that we can make a difference with. And also, yes. Yes.
We got a number of people in Isle Harbor, right, that work in the hotel industry, and some of them worried about in Isle Harbor we have a number of people who work in the tourist and the hotel industry, and they're worried about the salaries, like $5 an hour, and the stress. I would like to know if you have something in your mind that you could probably fix that for the people. And you could explain that a little bit.
$4, and it is true that and that is one of the sad things that in District 1 we haven't. We have to take such long treks all the way to the west end of the island for work, and then at very, very low wages. But it is very much the vision, I think, of the community that there will be a hub of activity in District 1. For instance, one of the projects that we identified since 2010, that's still very much so, and actually I believe is one of the ideas that influenced, the idea that there could be a medical center in this area, is the idea that we can have in Mimi Bay was an area we identified, but it could equally be elsewhere, where we create a facility where a tourism facility where there is a lot of work. But I thought that we would really focus on work at different levels, like at technical and professional levels as well, not just as housekeepers, although nothing's wrong with that and we have to train that. I thought that through entrepreneurship, through some of the programs, we would be able to get some of our younger people engaged in an entrepreneurship program where they didn't just stand to get $5 an hour, but through the delivering in that medium, through that medium, they would be able to get much higher rates for their services. So that, for instance, one of the things that you might be aware of is that for some of the hotels, they contract with, say, a group like Multiplus. Multiplus does all the cleaning, maybe a group of 5 or so, but they're able not to command. They're able to command really high rates for their services. I think there are new creative ways that we can deliver services like that, and rather than on one by one. And I think that will be part of the transformation as well, through introducing different entrepreneurship structures that allow for people to get better income.
Yes, the minimum wage is something that is very much on the minds of all people. Those not only who work, but those of us who do not work. But I think they need an innovative approach to the whole question of setting wages, Because if you maybe call a maid in this hotel and a maid in another hotel, but what you do is totally different to what the other person does. So they really need to see what the job entails, and look at that. Because if they don't do that, then you never get a proper wage structure in place. And I can talk about that because I was part of the wage structure. I must admit that they did ask me to be part of the minimum wage committee, but I said, I can't deal with it the way they're doing it that way. I have to see what you're doing first, because I can't make a judgment. As I said, in this area, that job with that name means one thing, and in another area, it means you do something totally different. In other areas, you're given a specific number of rooms to work on. And the people come up to me and say, well, in this hotel, I have to do so many rooms, so many rooms. Someone in another hotel may be doing less, but you're getting the same wage as they're getting. So in other words, they need to think outside the box, think up some innovative ways. And I know that Pam can do that.
Thank you very much. One of the things that I'm seeing the little one, I'm seeing Daddy with the little one, and it's so nice to see a young father with his child. Isn't that a lovely sight? And bringing the baby with him to a meeting. That is such a beautiful sight. It's really, really wonderful to see that our young people are taking responsibility in relation to their children as well. Go for it. I'm proud of you. But it brought to mind the idea, one of the things that we've got to do is, in looking at our education system, we've got to look at early childhood education. It's really, really important. And I think that some new innovative structures in education will yield better preparation for the future as well. And while through the centers where, helping with the after-school programs with homework and all of that, we're also conducting some parenting classes for young people. We've run several of them, and we're going to be running some more in collaboration with the schools, so that, there is, so that what we're seeing with you, we're seeing more throughout the community, that fathers are, wanting to be involved in their child's education from the bottom up. That's the kind of thing that we're encouraging. But education will be transformative, and it will be geared at preparing our children at much earlier ages to take part in very, very different careers than what we envisage now. The future, we're going to have careers in technology that we can't even envisage at this stage. And that level of training from childhood up will allow us to not only transfer the community values that are really important, but assure that our children will have an opportunity to be creating wealth in the future. I had the opportunity last week. Dr. Henry Charles was in Anguilla, and he has been spearheading a lot of the studies in the Caribbean to do with youth and youth empowerment. And he shared with me that he thought our young people are, some of the most innovative of the young people that he's seen. And even though there are a lot of negative things happening with our people, there are also a lot of very positive things happening. And I think that if we can harness those positive behaviors and attract less focus to the negative behaviors, I think we'll be able as well to get our young people doing very wonderful things in the future, and I'm very excited about that.
Okay. Well, I would like to thank all of you who have come here tonight. And I must say this before I go. When you hear me talking about things, I've grilled Pammy. And I have gotten from her. So that's why I can talk about things, because I know what she wants to do and what she's going to do for her people. And as I said, not just District 1, but for the whole of Anguilla. And so I want to thank all of you for coming. Pamavan, I want to thank you. And I look forward to our next public meeting where we can really talk out. Or someone would like to.
Yes. Oh, I'm so sorry. Absolutely. Yes. 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 Absolutely. Yes. 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 Absolutely, and I can tell you that that is one of the initiatives that I feel extremely strongly about. I've spoken about this for all these years. It's very, very important for me, not just that our elderly is provided for, but that we create a culture, just like in Bermuda, just like in Barbados, where you don't have to, where the dignity of humanity is recognized, where nobody is exposed to that insult of going up to a cashier and been refused medical care because they don't have the money in their pocket or anything. And I assure you that one of the things that I'm committed to making happen, not only that we do it, you've heard of the project that they've just put together. I think it's a good project. I think that it's going to be challenged which is a sad thing, because it hasn't been done properly. It hasn't been, and you're going to find that there's going to be a administrative law challenge to it. I'm absolutely envisaging that. But I believe that we need to secure in responsible ways exactly that delivery of care to all our people. But yes, definitely starting with our elderly, our older people, and with our young children. Always children, and not just 5 years or under, but all our children. Absolutely. And I think that we must also find ways, if we truly care about our people, of being able to deliver care as well, medical care, to our vulnerable and disadvantaged persons. That is how you show community values and community excellence, when you can really, without discrimination, just because somebody needs something, absolutely provide for the system to deliver it, and I'm committed to that. I want to thank you all personally again for coming. Thank you so much. When I see all these pretty women in front of me, look at that. You know, I'm encouraged. I see young people. I see children. It's very, very wonderful for me. I see all the people that I love in this community. And I know that we don't talk, don't have the opportunity. Iantha, so wonderful to see you as well. Thank you so much for coming. And I know that we don't have always an opportunity to, in a town hall session like this, or a round table session like this, we don't always have the opportunity to ask the questions. But let me tell you, each and every one of you, I'm available to you. You may not see me coming by the house as regularly as you may see your current representative or another person, but just know that I'm never far from you, and you can find me, you can ask me, I am there for you. I know I'm going to be elected, God's will, but I want to tell you that before that and after that and always, just like Uncle Kenneth, I will be there for you, and you will find me whenever you need me. And Naaman said something. He said, servant, and absolutely your servant. And I'm so honored and proud to have the opportunity to be your servant. That is really what I'm privileged to be, to serve you. Thank you so much for coming. May God bless you. May God bless District 1. And may God bless Anguilla. Do you want to say a little prayer, Mary? Yes.
Father, thank you for helping us to have this meeting in such a peaceful and loving manner. And I ask you that you take us home safely, that we go out there knowing that we all are servants and should help one another. And may you grant us good health and bring to this our district proper representation. I think you know we need it. And you're going to bring that so that again we will rise with our proper representative. Thank you, God, and thank all of you, and may God bless Anguilla.